If you look up Denali National Park on Google Maps, you'll find the vast expanse of one of the most beautiful national parks anywhere in America. Skirting the edge of Denali is Parks Highway, and if you keep zooming in, you'll eventually spot a giant white dome sitting by the side of the road. And if you jump into Street View, you'll soon realise it's not just a dome, it's a giant abandoned igloo. Probably the most striking thing about it is the size. It's absolutely massive. A 3-storey dome, pockmarked with dozens of windows that look out in every direction across the incredible Alaskan landscape. It's at least 80 feet tall, 105 feet in diameter. But just what on earth is this incredible building? Who built it?
Look at the amount of wood that must have gone into making this.
And is it doomed to sit here abandoned forever? Hey everybody, Callum here. You catch me out in my boat on the high seas. You know, being out in Alaska has really made me reconnect with nature and my love of fishing and really getting out on the open sea, the open water. Alright, look, I'll level with you. The weather's been terrible, it's freezing cold, my boat engine needs a service, I've not been out in the water in weeks, but I can still get my fishing fix, all thanks to today's sponsor, Fishing Clash. Fishing Clash lets you experience all the fun and excitement of fishing from the comfort of your own home, or anywhere for that matter. You can explore and fish in some of the most beautiful environments around the world, with over 300 species of fish to catch. They've even made me a custom avatar for the game, and it features in the background the Igloo Hotel with a typical Alaskan resident wearing the distinctive beanie that I made for one of my favourite videos. Now, you too can actually claim this custom avatar. If you go into gift codes, type in Callum, you'll be able to use my custom-made avatar as well as get $20 worth of equipment and power-ups. As you play, you'll be able to unlock powerful lures and rods, connect with your friends, climb the leaderboards, or if you're like me, you can just use it for the same reason I like to fish in real life. It's a nice, quiet escape where I get to relax, catch some fish in some beautiful locations, and probably more than I'd ever catch in this old tub. They even have Loch Ness in the game. Now, that's just down the road from me, and I fished Loch Ness, and I've never had as much success in real life as I've had in the game. So rather than going back to Alaska and fighting a bear for a salmon, I'm going to be playing Fishing Clash. I'll leave a link in the description below to my profile, or you can just follow the QR code that's on the screen right now. So try it for yourself. Fishing Clash is available for both iPhone or Android, and remember to use that code Callum for $20 of equipment and power-ups and that amazing custom avatar. And on that note, let's get back to Alaska and the Igloo Hotel. Leon Smith was born in Tiff City, Missouri in 1921. After his service in the Pacific Campaign during the Second World War, Smith and his wife Lucille eventually found their way to Alaska. Smith was, by all accounts, a Renaissance man, able to turn his hand to a wide range of jobs and skills needed for life in rural Alaska. He had been a tugboat captain in San Francisco, a deep-sea fisherman and lumberjack, and eventually working on the Alaskan Railroad. But by the early 1970s, he saw potential in another venture, found along a new stretch of highway that was being cut through the vast interior of Alaska. Parks Highway, originally called the Anchorage Fairbanks Highway, runs from, well, Anchorage to Fairbanks, a beautiful winding route that skirts the eastern edge of the vast Denali National Park. The new highway was formally completed in October 1971, and Smith, seeing the abundant lack of hotels or accommodation along this new route, saw an opportunity. He imagined a giant lodge that could cater to guests year-round, a beacon for weary travellers on their way north or south, a striking and unique silhouette against the iconic Alaskan landscape, and inspired by the region's most distinctive and famous structure, the igloo.
Built of snow blocks cut from the hard-packed drifts, his home is compact and strong. One block is cut to form a sloping surface. The second row is started on this slope, and the blocks built up in a continuous spiral, the key to the whole structure.
Towering some 80 feet tall against the backdrop of the nearby mountains, the circular Igloo Lodge would consist of 25 rooms that could sleep up to 58 guests, arranged around these circular floors and with views facing out in every direction. On the ground floor would be a large restaurant, bar and shop, and at the very top, on the fourth floor, a penthouse where Leon and his family would live. And so in around 1971, having cleared a space along a remote section of the highway several hours north of Anchorage, Leon set about building his unique dream lodge. An exceptionally talented builder, Smith had soon erected the massive wooden dome, using supplies of wood, some of which were reclaimed from old railway sites in the area. Smith hoped to have the entire building fleshed out and ready to open by summer 1973, with an adjoining fuel station that meant they could supply travellers with everything they may need for the road, whether it be food, fuel, or a bed for the night. The grand opening of 1973, however, would not come. A strange-looking giant igloo, located about halfway between Fairbanks and Anchorage on the new Fairbanks-Anchorage Highway, that was supposed to be a combination hotel, restaurant and gift shop, may not be able to open its doors. Smith said Sunday that after putting $110,000 into the structure, he had been unable to get a bank loan of $80,000 to finish the venture. Smith's spirited design had caused numerous headaches, making fire safety and regulatory certification for the lodge next to impossible. By 1978, Leon had seemingly relegated himself to selling the vast structure. An advert in a local paper read, "World's largest igloo? Could be. The Igloo Lodge at mile 188 Parks Highway is available. This unique property is ready for the new owner to finish its 42-unit motel, dining room, bar, etc." Over the years, the Igloo was sold several times, but each time sales fell through or were reneged upon. Leon would continue to work on his lodge when money was available, all while running their fuel station and shop next door. By 1991, almost 20 years after Leon had first constructed the Igloo, it still sat unfinished. In an interview with the Star Tribune, Smith still remained optimistic, however. "Anytime I get together enough money for this job," he said, "I build another room. It's regular wood construction. That stuff on the outside that's white is foam for insulation. I'm not going to operate this thing. I'm going to sell it." Sadly, Leon Smith's quixotic project was never finished. The dream of the cosy Igloo Lodge, stuffed with summer hikers or winter guests cozy in their rooms or enjoying a drink in the ground floor bar, was not to be. Amazingly, despite never having been fully finished and sitting exposed to the harsh Alaskan environment for over half a century, the wooden skeleton still looks almost as new.
Now you're inside. A little bit of debris and detritus. But look at the amount of wood that must have gone into making this. This beautiful surround. You've got 1, 2, 3, and then what looks to be like a kind of loft up there as well at the top. Doors at the end. I love the way the light streams in through here.
The incredible circular layout of the igloo creates beautiful kaleidoscopic cross-sections arranged around a perfectly formed hole in the centre of the building that is open from floor to ceiling. From the ground floor, staring up, you'll see a beautiful, intricate work of art as you gaze up into what would have been the family penthouse.
This would make for a lovely photo with the light streaming in here. So peaceful and still. There's actually another stair over there, takes you up to that level. But a few years ago I fell off a cliff and broke my hip. And ever since, strangely enough, I've been a little bit averse to climbing up precarious slopes. Some rooms here. I mean, I don't think this ever really had anything in it, but there's quite a lot of plasterboard. You can actually see remains of the old ceiling here as well too, which is rare because the rest of this, as you can see, is just all frames and battens and strapping.
Some fittings, such as the remains of plasterboard walls, still cling on. Most windows are long since missing and broken, and scattered on the various floors are the remains of detritus and rubbish from looters and vandals who have been drawn to the site over the decades.
Incredible. Imagine coming out of your room in the morning, you'd have walked along here, you might have then walked to this area in the centre and looked down into the middle of the Igloo Hotel, and then you would have woken up in the morning and had a view like this. A view of the Igloo sign. You see that?
Outside, the once shining white exterior is faded, stained, and starting to slowly fall away. The curved entranceway has since fallen, as has the remains of doorways around the exterior. Nevertheless, it's incredible how sturdy and resilient the huge abandoned lodge remains, even now as it's being slowly reclaimed by nature. By 1996, with his health deteriorating, Smith was finally able to sell the lodge to his friend Brad Fisher. In an interview with the Anchorage Daily News in 2021, Fisher recalled the emotional sale. "When he sold it to me, there were tears in his eyes," Fisher said. "You could tell he wasn't ready to give up." After an incredibly varied and adventurous life, Leon Smith passed away in 1999, and since then Fisher has remained the custodian, long looking for investment or buyers who may be able to finish Leon's dream. The small fuel station adjacent closed in 2005, and numerous attempts to bring life to the lodge over the years, which would require millions of dollars of investment, have come to little. You know, walking around here, you'd probably think it's quite spooky or creepy, but it's actually not. It's like a giant sculpture. It's like a work of art, really. It's not unnerving like some abandoned buildings can be. Although I don't know what's with the coat hangers. Maybe people are having a rave in here and this is where you hang up your coats. Now let's see if we can get back out into the Alaskan morning. Oh. There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, the story of the Igloo Lodge. Can't believe this. I came back up here about an hour after I filmed the advert for Fishing Clash, and I've lost my hat. My distinctive hat that Fishing Clash spent all that time rendering on that beautiful little avatar that they've made for me in the game. I don't know where it is, but remember, use code Callum if you download Fishing Clash. You'll get $20 worth of power-ups and equipment, and you'll be able to use that. You know, going above and beyond the Call of Duty there to actually make that rendition of the Igloo Lodge and my hat from, if you guys remember, that is the hat from my Calypso video, one of my favourite videos that I've made. But yeah, I didn't intend to make this. But yeah, I didn't actually intend on making a video about this subject, about the Igloo Lodge. I did know about it. I'd seen it on, I think, Atlas Obscura, and I'd seen it on lists of unusual abandoned buildings, you know, in the past. But I thought it was way out in the mountains somewhere or far off in Alaska, you know, hours detour down a road or something. But as we were driving on the first day through Denali, we'd woken up, you know, jet lagged. It's 4 a.m. There's no one on the roads. We see our first moose. We see the amazing vistas of Denali in front of us. And then all of a sudden, we're driving along. We cross this incredible bridge. We look to our right, and there is the Igloo Lodge. And of course, Leonie, my wife, had never heard of it. But I was like, stop the car! Like, swerve our Subaru Forester into the car park. And I just kind of jump out. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe what an amazing, you know, first few hours that we've had here in Alaska. And that was the same day that we went up to film the VC-22 Turnus train. But I didn't know anything about it. I just filmed it out of curiosity because I thought it was amazing. And then when I got home and I looked up the story of, you know, Leon Smith and the Igloo Lodge, I just fell in love with it. You know, Leon Smith reminds me quite a lot of that classic Alaska frontiersman. You can just turn your mind to anything. It's quirky and unique and unusual. Sums up a lot of the kind of Alaska attitude to me anyway. And it actually reminds me quite a lot of people who grew up here in the Highlands and Islands. Those old folks who could just turn their hand to anything, who could build anything or do anything and didn't really let anyone stop them. It reminds me quite a lot of my grandfather and the like too. So I thought it was just such a great story. I will say, I wouldn't go in there. When I turned up, there was no signs. I didn't know anything about it. I just kind of wandered in. It is obviously quite an old, dangerous structure, but also on that first day, we were naive children. We're just wandering around Alaska like, this is absolutely beautiful. By the end of the week, we drove back the same route and we passed it again. I didn't realise just how many bears there were. And we had seen a lot of bears in that week driving all across Alaska and the Yukon. And I found out later on that site, the Igloo Lodge, was site to one of Alaska's most gruesome bear attacks. A man was attacked and mauled. He luckily survived with terrible injuries. And it's not unknown to have bears hanging around that area, obviously around Denali. But obviously they find themselves in the Igloo Lodge sometimes as well too. And that could have been a very different video. So on the way back, we were both kind of like, yeah, let's not go in again. Now, another thing I should mention is, in the last year or two, there has been news that the Igloo Lodge has sold. Sometimes, by the way, you'll see it listed as Igloo City on Google Maps and stuff. That apparently comes from a failed attempt to turn it into a brewery years and years ago. Leon, it seems, always called it the Igloo or Igloo Lodge. But there were some stories that it had sold and was going to become a distillery. Now, I think actually it was being leased. The site itself hadn't sold. And I think the plan was to make the distillery in the outbuildings and then sort of stabilise the igloo. But I've not heard anything since. I did message and reach out to try and get some updates and information, but I haven't heard anything about it since. So the dream of finally finishing the Igloo Lodge, I think, is still just out of reach. But it is recognised, I think it's been listed on lists of Alaska's historic places, as it should be, in my opinion. I think it's just an absolute work of art. I think it is, again, that sort of quirky, unique, nobody does it like Alaska. You know, it's the perfect monument to all of that. And I think it's just fantastic. But anyway, I need to go now tow this boat back down. I towed it up here just to film this advert. And I'm going to basically get ready for the end of the year. If you're watching this at the end of 2024, hope you guys had a great year. If you're watching this anytime after that, I hope the future's bright. So thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.